Hello everyone. Let's review the meanings of shlokas 19, 20 and 21 in Lalita Sahasranamam. Nakaditi sanchanna namajjanatamo guna padadvaya prabhajala parakrita saroruha shinjana manjira mandita shri padambuja marali mandagamana mahalavanya shevadihi sarvaruna navadyangi sarvabharanabhushita Shivakameeshwarangasta Shiva Swadhinavallabha. Let's look at the meanings. Nakadititi sanchanna namajjana tamoguna. Nakam means nails. Dititi means radiance or brilliance. Sanchanna means concealed. Namajjana, Nama means bowing and jana is the people. Tamoguna means a quality of darkness or ignorance. So the meaning of this line is her two nails will dispel the quality of ignorance that is in the people who bow to her. The radiance of her toenails will dispel the darkness in the people who bow to her. Padadvaya prabhajala parakrita saroruha. Padam means foot, dvaya means two. Prabha means radiance, Jala means magic. Prabha Jala put together is magnificence. Parakrita means disdain, that is feeling worthless. Saroruha means lotus. So Padatvaya Prabha Jala Parakrita Saroruha means looking at the magnificence of her 2 feet, the lotus feels a bit worthless, which means her feet is more beautiful than the lotus. Shinjana Mani Manjira Mandita Shri Padambuja. Shinjana means tinkling bells. Tinkling. Mani is precious stones or jewels or pearl. Manjira means anklet. Mandita means adorns. Pada Ambuja. Padam means foot. Ambuja means lotus. That means an anklet that's studded with precious stones that has tinkling bells adorns her lotus feet. Marali Mandagamana Mahalavanya Shevadihi. Marali means female swan. Mandam means slow. Gamana means gait, a manner of walking. Mahalavanya Shevadihi. Maha means great. Lavanyam means grace, beauty and grace put together, elegance. Shevadihi means treasure house. Marali Mandagamana Mahalavanya Shevadihi means her gait, her manner of walking is like slow like that of a female swan, and she is a treasure house of beauty. So let's look at the deeper meanings. So the first line says that just the radiance of her toenails will eliminate the ignorance. So what is that ignorance that we are talking about? So there are 3 gunas that drive the functions of the universe. They are tamas, rajas and sattva. So tamas is inertia and this gives matter its physical structure. Rajas is movement and activity, and usually rajas means hyperactivity, and that governs all the movement in the universe. And then sattva means the inherent intelligence in everything, and sattva is associated with calmness, balance. So usually what we want is a sattvic guna, because the more sattvic we are, we have the ability to be balanced as well as think clearly and therefore move towards the path of realization. So the tamoguna, the ignorance that we are speaking about here, is not something that's born out of not studying or not experiencing, but there is a fundamental ignorance in human birth, which is that once born or once manifested, we all forget that we are one and the same as that ultimate reality, or that we are one and the same as Lalita. So that ignorance is what we are talking about. So when we surrender at Lalita's feet, she removes that ignorance for us, and we are able to realize that we and Lalita are one and the same. Padadvaya Prabhajala Parakrita Saroruha. We already spoke that the lotus feels a bit worthless when compared to the beauty of her feet. And if you look at lotus, lotus is a symbol of enlightenment, and the reason it is because even though it stays in water all day long and it is in dirty water, the lotus is the most pristine flower, and it reaches towards the sun, it comes up on the top, and it doesn't accumulate anything beyond what it needs to survive. And that is the path towards realization, which is the lack of attachment. So the lotus is great because of that. And so her feet are beautiful like the lotus, but there is a little bit more. If you look at most of the gods, there is two things they always do, which is abhayam and varadam. Abhayam means dispelling the fear, and varadam means giving boons or granting our desires. So you'd see gods with the one hand towards us as if it's blessing us, and another hand also towards us, pointing down as if it's granting. And if you look at Lalita, she has four hands, but in all the four hands, she's holding a noose, gourd, a bow, and arrow. So then, where do we get the Abhayam and Varadam? It is in her feet. And this is why the feet of Lalita is so great, because that is the one that dispels our fears, grants us all our desires, and shows us the path towards realization. And that's why, if you see, there is so much that is dedicated towards her feet, starting from Guda Gulba Kurma Prishta until this, we are still talking about her feet. Her feet are great because once we surrender, she takes care of both our yogam and kshemam. Both of that, she takes care of it. Shinjana Mani Manjira Mandita Shri Padambuja. We said that is the anklets. There is a very interesting imagination that Adi Shankaracharya provides in Saundarya Lahari. So, Lalita's feet are like the lotus. They are pink and they are delicate. And it is also said that when some trees don't flower, if an auspicious woman kicks it, then they will flower. So and that's generally the belief, and they do this for the peepal tree, Arasamaram in Tamil. So Lalita has a big garden in her house, and she has a lot of these trees, and some of them are Ashoka trees, Kadamba trees, peepal trees. So she walks around the garden and kicks them. Who can be more auspicious woman than Lalita? So she kicks them so that they will flower regularly. And Shiva is watching all of this, and now he's jealous of all these trees because this pink delicate feet is falling on them instead of on him. So he thinks she should be kicking him instead of those trees. So in order to bait her, he calls her Ganga, who is his other wife. So Lalita now gets very upset, and so she kicks him on the forehead. When she kicks him on the forehead, she's wearing this anklet that has tinkling bells. Obviously, because of the movement, the anklets are tinkling and make a sound. And Adi Shankaracharya compares that sound to the laughter of Manmada, because Manmada always had revenge in his heart, right? He was trying to put the floral arrows on Shiva, and Shiva burnt him down. So now Manmada is laughing and saying that finally he got his revenge. So that was an interesting comparison there. Marali Mandagamana Mahalavanya Shevadihi. So her gait is slow like the female swan, and this also has reference to the Kundalini that moves slowly, and it starts in the Mooladhara. Mahalavanya Shevadihi, and in this case, Lavanyam is grace and charm. So she's a treasure house of great beauty, and the one thing about elegance and grace and beauty, her elegance is one that creates a response in us. Her beauty is one that just leaves us stunned. We'll be awestruck at that beauty, and there is nothing comparable to that kind of a beauty. That's what Adi Shankaracharya says in the Saundarya Lahari. So she's treasure house of beauty, and at the time we see her, we are speechless, but our hearts are filled with immense joy. Our heart is filled with immense joy, and that's why we are speechless. So she possesses that kind of a beauty. Sarva Aruna Anavadyangi. Sarva Aruna. Aruna means red, and Sarva means fully. She's fully red. From top to bottom, she's red. And she's red for many reasons. One, she has so much love and compassion for all of us, and that's shown in her eyes. And the love and compassion is the color of love is red, right? She's full of that love for us, and she's also the energy of this universe. So she is the one, because of her the universe manifests, so that energy and power is denoted through red. And she's the one who grants all the desires, and desire, passion is also the color of red. So she's red for all of these reasons. Anavadyangi. Anavadya means faultless, Angi means parts. So she's perfect. She's faultless all through, and she's perfect head to toe. And it's not just that she's the creator of the universe. We've seen this over and over. She is the universe, and we all can recognize this, that there is an inherent beauty and perfection in nature. Sarva Abharana Bhushita. Abharanam means ornament, Sarva means full or all, and Bhushita means decorated or wearing. So she's fully decorated with ornaments. Shiva Kameshwara Ankasta. So Shiva is again Shiva. Kameshwara is also Shiva, who is the master of desires. Ankam means lap. So she is sitting on the lap of Shiva. So that is the way it is portrayed, and she's usually sitting on the left thigh of Shiva. And in that pose, when Shiva with Parvati on his thigh, that is called as a Saguna Brahman. So Shiva by himself is Nirguna Brahman. Nirguna means no attributes. So Shiva is nothing. That manifestation potential is completely contained, and he is Nirgunam, which means he has no form, he has no limit, he has no name, nothing. There is nothing you can attribute. And Shakti is when that manifestation potential is manifested, right? That potential has manifested. That is when it's called Shakti. So Shiva and Shakti together are called as Saguna Brahman. She provides all the attributes. Saguna, which means with attributes. So she is the Prakriti, that is nature, that has all the attributes. Shiva means auspicious. And as we just saw, Shakti is with attributes, and auspiciousness is also an attribute. So she is the one who gives that quality of auspiciousness to Shiva himself. That's why she is Shiva. Swadhina Vallabha. Swadhina Vallabha means one who has her husband under her control. So what does that mean? In Saundarya Lahari, Adi Shankaracharya says, Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitam. Only when Shiva is joined with Shakti, he can do anything. Nache Devam Devo Nakalu Kushalaha Spanditumapi. So if it is not so, if Shiva is not joined with Shakti, then he is not even capable of movement, which means Shakti is the power of Shiva. In order for him to do anything, it is Shakti who gives him that power. So Shakti is the energy. So if we have to understand it in very simple terms, if we want light, we need a light bulb as well as electricity. So Shiva, if you compare Shiva to the light bulb, Shakti is the electricity. Only when both come together, we get light. So, so in that case, without electricity, the light bulb cannot glow, even if we have the bulb, and that's what they're trying to convey. But again, equally, if we just have electricity and no light bulb, then also we will not get light. That's why in all our scriptures in Sanatana Dharma, Shiva and Shakti are always equal. They are one and the same. They are inseparable. It's like water and wetness and fire and heat. They both are together. So we've covered 19, 20 and 21. With this, all the physical description of Lalita is completed, And from this point on, we will look at how her house is, and then we'll look at the war between Lalita and Bandasura. Thank you.